And the problem becomes in criminal situations where you and me are not in a voluntary agreement, right? How then? What is justice in that situation? So if I attack you and steal your money, right? Or worse, cause violence. Like, if I take your money, that maybe the restitution is give you the money back. If I end up causing harm, like break a finger or an arm or whatever, then it's not an eye for an eye, right? Like there used to be a justice that way. If you look at what was it, the Hammurabi's tablets and stuff, it was eye for an eye kind of justice. If you steal a goat, well, you get your arm chopped off. It's probably not eye for an eye; it's worse. But that was the kind of justice back then. Like like a goat probably was meant a lot to people back then than an arm did. But
Right.
if you poke someone's eye out, they poke your eye out, and that now we know now that is not the right way to mete out justice in that individual to individual sense. I mean, pretty much there's if you look at the laws of the land, one doesn't get meet the same fate that one ends up committing, the crimes that one ends up committing. Like if someone ends up, I should is the hard these things have happened. Like people who have end up mass shooting, it's not like they end up in a firing squad. That doesn't happen, and so it it's no longer necessarily equality based justice. But what justice is trying to do in that situation is trying to make up for the loss. But what we found is it's very hard, right? It's very hard to make up for the loss. If someone loses a loved one because of a violent act, whatever you do to the criminal doesn't make up for that loss, right? And so, what do you think about societal justice that way? Like, we know so we have the opposite problem as well. Like, people are put in for years in behind bars for small minor offenses based on their race or based on so many different things, right? We are also putting people to death. And some of these folks we don't know if they were necessarily in the right state of mind when they committed the crimes that they committed. And I don't know, what do you think about that? What do you think about that kind of justice?
I think moving away probably from eye for an eye is probably the right thing. And yet I think it depends on the severity of the act too. And I mean, I come back with a question too: is the death sentence, is that unjust in and of itself? Like like a life for a life. Like, is that an unjust act, or is that equal justice? Right? I mean, that's where there are people who have been, to your point, incarcerated since the 70s for a bag of pot. And, it's probably because they were a person of color and not because they were a white male. The white male may have gotten a slap on the wrist, right? Like that is not equal justice. Again, I was just talking about this yesterday. There is a person who is clearly mentally ill. They're currently determining whether or not he should get the death penalty for the acts that he committed. The acts that he committed, we don't even need to get into the details here. They're so atrocious that it made me question my beliefs in the death penalty. And is it at that point? Is that even like a person like that? Do they? This is a different topic, I think, but I mean, it comes to, is that justice to them end their life because of it? Because of their crimes, they were clearly also mentally ill. They also have a history of being abused as a child. Like their whole history explains why the act happened. It happened. And they were there was mental illness. They were on the spectrum. They were abused sexually, physically,
Yeah.
and they created a monster. They created an act. But it wasn't. This person knew exactly what they were doing. It was premeditated. There was planning involved.
Yeah.
Is that so? Is the death penalty in this scenario just?
Yeah. So at least what we are discussing here is the fact that this is so messy.
Yeah.